Episode 131, Physical Discomfort. Welcome to How to Glow, where we get real about building the marriage of your dreams. I'm certified coach Kayla Levin, and I help married Jewish women go from surviving and overwhelmed to thriving and connected through practical tips, real-life inspiration, and more than a little self-awareness along the way. Hello, my friends. So happy to be back. Just had the most amazing Shabbos. I normally record the podcast during the week. This week didn't get to it, so I'm doing this Motzei Shabbos, and I just, it was so good. I hope you had a good Shabbos too. I'm excited to talk about this topic. This comes up a ton in my coaching, and I don't think I've covered it before, but I've now learned my lesson that maybe I have. I'm pretty sure I have not covered it on the podcast before, and that is the issue of physical discomfort, fatigue, overwhelm, like physical overwhelm, physical stress, having a life that just is extremely physically demanding, right? Like either you have really young kids or you work really long hours, like if you're a nurse or a PA, or you have a ton of stairs to climb. We just talked about this a little bit on our last How to Glow coaching call, which, by the way, you should totally be on. And there were like a bunch of women who were like, yeah, I also have a ton of stairs to climb. So stairs are a thing. Stairs leading up to the apartment, stairs that you need to carry your groceries up, broken elevators. Yes, this is a thing. So everyone feeling validated, everyone feeling clear that there is some place where this could apply to them. Even if this isn't like, you don't have like a major thing in your life that creates this. Like I would say for me, I don't have any particular dramatic area in which there's a lot of physical discomfort. I don't currently have a little baby that's waking me up all the time at night. I don't have a lot of stairs to climb. I do have a car, so I'm not schlepping a lot, right? So it's relevant anyway. So it's not only for you if you sort of feel like you're in one of these more dramatic situations. So first of all, it's something that we're dealing with a lot. What I think is so important to see from a coaching perspective, right? So like the validation, very nice, but that doesn't actually help, right? That just makes you think like, okay, well, I just need to move. From a coaching perspective, what I want you to know is that there's a lot that's added when you create drama on top of the physical discomfort. And that's the piece that's optional, right? If you have signed a lease for an apartment that's a 4th floor walk up, and that's what you need to be doing, then right now that's just your reality. And resisting the reality isn't getting you to a new apartment situation faster. It's actually causing you to create a lot more emotional fatigue and even possibly physical fatigue on top of the fatigue of walking up the stairs. So what I want to really encourage us to do is first of all is to really call a spade a spade. Like how exactly are you describing your physical discomfort? This is really, really helpful. I've had people do this before. For instance, if you say like it is completely exhausting, right? Or even the word schlepping, right? These are very loaded words and they carry a lot of emotional weight. No one feels good about schlepping. Like they just don't. I'm sorry, right? But I love the word fatigue to describe physical tiredness. Like I'm experiencing fatigue. For me, that word is like almost medical and very dry and very facty. And it doesn't bring a lot of emotion. Now, if I'm exhausted, my brain goes straight to feeling sorry for myself. And how can I just do nothing? And how can I just get to bed? And like, I just can't. If I think I'm experiencing fatigue, my brain is immediately in a much more proactive place to consider like, okay, so what do I want to do? I'm experiencing the sensation of fatigue. What do I want to do about that? Right? It doesn't put me straight into this like, forget it. I can't even, right? Which is what exhausted puts me into. If fatigue doesn't do it for you, you can figure out what works for you. Tiredness is also a little bit less dramatic than exhausted. I also like to have people like physically describe where in their body they're sensing it, right? Is it heaviness in your legs? Do you feel tension in your arms? Are your eyelids drooping? Like, again, calling a spade is going to be really, really helpful. Like, I don't even know if that's the right way of using the phrase calling a spade, but calling it very, very clearly and specifically and in a very factual way what you're experiencing without dramatic language is actually going to open up your brain to consider what to do in a much more proactive way. Okay, so that's the first piece of kind of coaching that I want to give you, is that if you're experiencing in somewhere in your life a lot of physical discomfort, start by getting really dry with the way that you describe it. Now, I'm not saying under describe it, right? I'm not saying, you're experiencing absolute all out, about to collapse on the floor exhaustion, and you should say, oh, I'm experiencing some minor fatigue. I'm not saying that. You could say, I'm experiencing extreme fatigue, right? I mean, at that point, like, really just please go take a nap. But, right, like, I'm not saying to describe less than what you're experiencing. I'm just saying to describe it in less dramatic language. Hopefully that's clear. I recently had this experience myself, and I was so shocked by it because one of the things that I've worked on in the last year in my one-on-one coaching a lot has been dealing with discomfort. But most of the discomfort has had to do with discomfort that I've created in my own brain. And it's been the discomfort of, putting myself out there more or, just moving forward in my business in certain ways, trying to put myself in places where there's like an opportunity for me to get rejected, right? It was a much more like of a mental discomfort, and it's one that I actually experienced very, very physically, right? So like I was asked to go onto the Life Coach School podcast on their panel about coaches who the model in religion. This is a hugely listened to podcast with a huge audience. And it took a toll, right? Like physically, the amount of adrenaline that was going through my body and just my processing of the whole thing. And I know there's other people who would go through the exact same experience and would not need to recover, right? Like it would have just been an absolute pleasure. And I'm so happy I did it. And I'm so proud of myself that I did it. And I'm completely compassionate with the fact that that just took a lot out of me because of my personality and because of how my brain works. And that's totally fine. And I made space for that recovery. But again, that's just an example of over the past year how I've been focusing, and a lot of my coaching has just kind of come back to this theme of being out there more than I was comfortable with, and then sort of like where that, like what that created for me mentally and dealing with that discomfort. And so I was so surprised when within the last couple weeks, I had a night where I had been planning to get something done around the house. I don't remember, it might have been laundry or something like that. And I was like, oh, I'm just so exhausted. I just can't one more thing. I just need to go to bed. Like I was completely in that very dramatic place. And then I was like, wait. What's actually happening right now? Right? Like I would have just completely gone down that train. I'm not really sure what stopped me. It could be that I was thinking about this topic for my clients, or, maybe I heard it. I don't know exactly where, but like something clicked in that moment. And I was like, wait a second. What is physically happening in my body, right? So again, like that first tool, I was like, what am I actually experiencing? And I was like, oh, and I kind of did a quick body scan, which I love this tool of literally just imagine from the top of your head. I like to imagine almost like a laser line going down your body. Like, okay, let me just scan my body. What does my body need? Am I thirsty? Am I hungry? Right? Like, is there soreness? Do I need a Tylenol? So just did a quick body scan. And I was like, okay, my fatigue's probably at like a 6 or a 7. Like I'm tired, but it's just a sensation, right? Like I just had this realization in that moment, like I am experiencing the sensation of fatigue, and I'm making this mean my life is too much. I can't handle it. I just need to go to bed. All these things that I wanted to get done tonight, they for sure can't happen. And what I needed to get done, again, it was something along the lines of laundry. Like it wasn't, I wasn't going to, a high intensity aerobic workout or something like that, right? It was not an intense night. And so I was able to just say to myself, like, well, you think you could just do the laundry and feel a little fatigue and just make sure you get to bed on time? I was like, yeah, I could do that. Like, we'll just bring the fatigue along with us while we do the laundry. And it was a non-issue. Right? And it was such a dramatic shift for me from this place of like, oh my gosh, I can't. And just like completely believing, like being swept away by the drama of my tiredness, to just like, wait a second, hold on. What's really going on in my body right now? Is this manageable? Could we work with it? Yeah, we could work with it. Now, I'm not sure the answer is always going to be yes for you. Sometimes you're going to need to make a different change or not keep your schedule, but you'll be in such a better place to make that decision when you really start with a quick body scan and just get clarity on like, what's actually on my hands right now? Like, what am I actually dealing with? Not my whole story and my drama about it. So it's just, very interesting for me to see, like, you can focus on discomfort for a whole year, but what I hadn't been focusing on was low level discomfort, right? Like daily discomfort, being tired, right? Like, and we create big dramas out of those too. Like, I mean, if you're like me, I can create drama out of really anything. So I'm particularly talented in this way. I like to think of it also. So let's say you're having a really physically demanding day, or you just have to carry a ton of groceries, or you're climbing a lot of stairs, or whatever it is. I like to remind myself that there are times where we do something physically demanding on purpose. There are people who go to the gym to work out. There are people who choose to run marathons. No one is forcing them. And when they are experiencing physical discomfort, how different is their internal monologue compared to the internal monologue of us when we're having a long day or when we had to get up one more time for the baby, right? Now, I'm not trying, I don't want you to use any of this to invalidate yourself. I don't want you to be like, you get up and like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. And you're like, forget it. If I was running a marathon, like, why are you just stop being a baby? No, this is not helpful at all, right? But if you're in the middle of carrying a lot of heavy things and you just remind yourself like, hey, people pay to go to the gym to do this kind of thing, right? It's a very different mentality for all of my listeners who have a lot of stairs to climb. You will get stronger climbing those stairs. Like, that's an actual exercise at the gym, is going up and down stairs. Right? That is a thing that people do. And what I'm really interested in, and I don't think I'll be able to get necessarily the answer to this, but Harvard psychologist Ellen Langer did an experiment with hotel maids. And they divided them into two groups. And with one of them, they just reviewed with them what they do to clean the hotel rooms. And with the other one, they went over what they do to clean the hotel rooms, but they actually explained what the equivalent exercise would be. What would the equivalent workout be for what they were doing just to clean a hotel room? And they took their, physical profiles, like did different tests, like medical tests on them before and after. And the cleaners who were told, when you make the bed, then that's kind of like doing a push-up. Like, I don't know exactly how it was, but right, like they showed them that they were doing healthy physical exercise as they were cleaning. So even though everyone follows the exact same checklist, everyone cleans the room the same way, and these are two random groups divided, the ones who had in mind that this was healthy exercise for them were actually healthier. Their dry, factual medical tests came back better at the end of the experiment than the group that was not informed that there was any kind of positive exercise type health benefit to the cleaning that they were doing. I mean, that's incredible to me, right? And it does make sense to me. Like, I think about the times when I've had to do tons of stairs in my life, like when I lived in Harnof, right? And like, if you've ever been there, there's a lot of stairs, and you're going up those stairs. And if you're just thinking, I'm tired, like, you're just like, I have to just get to the next, this is terrible, I can't believe it. And then the times where you're like, hey, my thought was, I'm probably getting better at this. I'm probably getting stronger, right? Like, without even like making time in my day to exercise, I'm getting stronger just by virtue of the fact that I live here and I have to climb all these stairs. And of course I did get stronger. Of course, by the end of that year living there, I was able to do the stairs much faster than the beginning, and without losing, getting out of breath the same way and all of those things, right? So look, if you are in an apartment anyway with a lot of stairs, or you live somewhere with a lot of stairs, or you tend to have to carry groceries, or you've got triplets that are each 12 pounds or whatever is going on in your life, or you have one of these very physically demanding long-hour jobs, I would consider, can I frame this for myself as part of having a healthy lifestyle? Right? I mean, how many studies do we need to see about the disadvantages of desk jobs for health before we start to look? I mean, we just, like I said, we just had Shabbos, and one of the guests was like, no, you keep getting up. And I was like, you don't understand. I like to get up and down. I like to move. We have long Shabbos meals. Thank God. They're wonderful. I don't want to sit still for that long. I like to get up. I like to move and whatever. I didn't go like completely into detail, but this is, what I'm thinking is a healthy life is a life that includes movement, includes physical movement and something that is physically demanding sometimes. We don't actually want to atrophy. We don't actually want to just wither away, right? We do want some of this. And so for me, this is a big piece of just trying to sort of lose the resistance to that. And I think the main thing here to realize more than anything is that when we're adding drama to the discomfort, we really exhaust ourselves. And I'm always amazed when I work with a client and we look at her thinking about her situation, or I do this for myself. And I look at the thinking for a situation, and the thinking is overwhelmed, and the thinking is exhausted, and this is like all of that. And we clean up the way we're thinking about it, right? Like we really notice where that train is going and how that makes us feel and act and how that's really, really not productive. And we find something else that's equally true that we also can believe that's a different way of looking at it. And so much of the fatigue disappears. And I mean the fatigue, the physical sensation of tiredness that we were planning for in the second model. I was expecting to continue to have to deal with that tiredness, but when the thinking changed, it was gone. And I mean, an easy way of just imagining that would be that if you're at home and you have to clean up from a big, busy Shabbos and you've got a million dishes to do and you're feeling so tired and all you want to do is just climb into bed. And then your friend who's been dating for 10 years calls you and tells you she's just got engaged. You'd have all the energy in the world all of a sudden. Why? Your body didn't change. And I don't think it's realistic to expect us to do a 180 like that with climbing the stairs to our apartment or picking up the baby for the 10th time that night. But I do think it's important to know that fatigue, all the experience of tiredness that we create, it's not all physical. A lot of it's mental, right? So just kind of want to give you that last push of really being open to questioning that the way that you're thinking about something, if that's really what's creating so much of the tiredness versus the actual physical sensation in your body. So the last thing that I just want to mention, which is something else that I've been seeing, which is slightly different than like the way we think about our tiredness, is something that I'm calling energy scarcity. Okay, so scarcity is any time that we are in a mentality that there won't be enough. Okay, so money scarcity you see a lot, right? Like someone doesn't make good decisions with their money because they just feel like there won't be enough. And so then they just like either they kind of like overspend on a lot of cheap things that they don't really need, or they don't buy the important thing that they need. So they end up paying for it later, or whatever the thing is, right? Like we know that scarcity mentality tends to come back and bite us. It doesn't mean frugality is a problem. But that feeling of like there isn't enough, there won't be enough, coming from that place, that being the motivator and the main drive behind our behavior, I've never seen it be helpful. And I've seen people have time scarcity. I think most of us have time scarcity. It's actually something that's coming up on our next coaching call because so many people wrote in about time scarcity. So we'll be talking about that. Like just thinking there's not going to be enough time, I won't be able to get everything done. And then what do? Well, half of us just give up and go do something else. The other half of us start everything and not finish anything, right? Or I guess there's some of you, so we're not really doing halves here, but then there's like another bucket that just decides you're just going to stay up all night. And then you're like completely run yourself into the ground and it takes you a week to recover, right? Like if you're in time scarcity, you're not making helpful decisions for yourself, correct? Right? You get that? Relationship scarcity. I don't have enough love in my life. I don't have enough relationships in my life. So what do? I harass my friends that they need to give me more attention. I harass my husband that he needs to give me more attention because there's not enough. I'm not getting enough. I need more. And then what does that end up looking like? People pull away. You're like, this is weird, right? Like this isn't about me. This isn't about you wanting to be with me. This is about you wanting something for you. This is not authentic. So relationship scarcity, right? So anytime that we're in a scarcity mentality, which if you catch yourself in one of these places, it's fine. It doesn't help to judge yourself about it, right? I think it's kind of, these are all kind of like default settings that sometimes we slide into and we just need to intentionally pull ourselves out. But energy scarcity is one that I see so often in young marrieds. And we're saying young marrieds, I don't know, first 10 years. Energy scarcity being like, you still got young kids at home. You know what it's like to be woken up at night, right? there's just this feeling of like, I don't know if I'll have enough energy for the rest of my day. So what am I doing now? Right? So like the fear of fatigue isn't that like right now I'm going to collapse and need to go to bed right now at 4:00 in the afternoon. The fear is what's going to happen to me at 9:00. What's going to happen to me at 7:00 at bedtime? Will I have the energy for bedtime? So first of all, I don't know if you can feel it. I can already feel the like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'll have energy for bedtime. I just lost energy just saying that, right? Like it's a depleting thought. You just feel it's almost like there's like a hole at the bottom of you and all the energy just flies right out, right? So energy scarcity is like, as if energy is this solid commodity like water. And whenever I do anything, I'm spilling a little bit of the water and I just need to make the water last till the end of the day. But that's not how energy works, because energy comes from very much how we're thinking about our life. And again, I'm always shocked by this. This isn't one that I have to see it over and over. And every time I'm like, I cannot believe it, right? Like maybe she needs more sleep. Maybe she needs more vegetables. Maybe she needs more water. Most of you need more water, by the way. Go drink some water. You just get some water while you're listening. But even with all those things, the change when we clean up the thinking about the energy is so, so dramatic. So when it's 4:00 and your brain starts to go, I don't know if I can make it through bedtime. I just want you to pull yourself to right in that moment and be like, what do I have energy for right now? Another place where I was watching this a lot is I came down with a crazy stomach bug and I was like really, really out of it. And then like, I just haven't like 100%, like days where I was kind of back and days where I wasn't 100% back, and just like really noticing my energy really fluctuating. And there was one day where I was with my kids and I knew that in about an hour or so it was gonna be time to get, the sort of dinner bedtime routine going. And I had in mind a bunch of different things that I was going to do during that time, but, around the house. But I just realized like, oh my gosh, my body's feeling really, really tired. So I did this and I said, okay, what do I have energy for right now? Because my first impulse was to like go to my computer, go to my phone, like zone out. I just was going to like go away, just get a book, was just to just kind of disappear. But this was kid time for me. So when I asked myself the question, what do I have energy for right now? The very clear answer was I have the energy to just be here and enjoy my kids. And so I just decided I was just going to sit on the chair and just watch them play and enjoy them and think all the yummy thoughts about them and appreciate them. And often when I'm in that place, they want to come over and snuggle with me or kiss me or hug me, or my youngest who always goes, Mommy, you're the cutest in the family. You're the cutie pie in the family. That's what she says. Right? Because I'm just sitting there being this like happy, positive presence, right? And so they were interacting with me more, for sure, more than if I had gone and disappeared into my office, which I didn't have the energy to do anything productive then anyway, right? So I love this question for all of you too, which is that when you do realize like, no, I'm doing a physical check-in. This is real fatigue. This is, I'm not going to be getting up now and doing the chore that I thought I was going to do, or I'm not going to be, so what do I have energy for now? What can I do now? And just see what comes up for you, right? Because it puts you in a place of acceptance, right? And it puts you in a place of openness, and it's a very, very helpful question. So when I was in this place of like scarcity, of like, am I going to be able to get through bedtime? Am I going to be able to, then all I wanted was to just escape. But once I got myself to the place of like, I just need what I could do right now, then I was able to have like a really, really wonderful afternoon with my kids. And that's what I want to offer you, is that your brain, it has kind of this survival instinct. And it's normal and fine for it to be trying to preserve energy, because it tries to preserve a lot of things. Energy is the main thing it's trying to preserve. That's why if you want to go do something brand new, it's like probably not a good idea. I see this with my yoga class. I love my yoga class, and every single week my brain's like, I don't think we should do this. I don't think it's a good idea. Right? And I'm like always like, no, it's okay. We can just lie on the mat for the whole hour. That's fine. And that's how I trick myself into going. Because why? My brain just wants to preserve energy. That's what our brains want to do. And so it's very convincing to say, well, we might not be able to make it through the rest of the day, so let's just go zone out now. Let's just stop now. And if you just look to yourself and say, like, this is what energy I have right now. What can I do right now? It will get you into a much more proactive place. And the truth is that most likely when you do whatever that thing is, that's the right thing for you to do now, and stop worrying about the future, by the time you get to the next thing, you're going to be feeling better, right? Maybe you will still be experiencing some fatigue or some heaviness in your limbs or whatever the thing is. But you will not be adding that extra level of drama and resistance that creates so much more exhaustion, because you'll have made a great decision about what you want to do just then. Okay, my friends, the last 3 steps. You're calling it what it is, releasing the story, and then just I really want you to trust your gut about what you really can handle. I think if you ask yourself this question and you get an answer that doesn't feel dramatic or like it's filled with scarcity, you'll know it's the right answer, right? Like trusting your gut, like you're getting an answer that feels very solid and very real. What can I do right now? So those are the 3 things. Call it what it is, release the story, and then trust your gut when you ask yourself, what can I do right now? I hope you find this one helpful. I know this has been coming up a lot, so I hope that this is something you can find where it applies for you in your life. And I look forward to seeing you back here next week. Okay, bye-bye, my friends.